And my special guest today is Marion Jorgensen. She is hails out of the UK. She'll tell you where, because I know it's, got more than one city. And she is a psychotherapist and a hypnotherapist, which her and I haven't talked too much about that yet today. And so today we're going to talk about journey into authenticity. Marion's going to show her stories, her experience. I, of course, am going to just ask her questions as I go, and we'll go for it. And for any audience that comes in, we will answer your questions as we see them come up, if anything comes in the chat. So please put your questions in there, and we will make sure that we get them answered the best we can. So without further ado, Marion, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, first of all, for inviting me here today. I'm thrilled. I love doing this sort of thing, and I love talking about my favorite subject is authenticity, and all of us becoming who we were born to be. So, yeah, I trained as a hypnotherapist, psychotherapist over 20 years ago now, and
wow.
I work with people who have depression, anxiety, addictions, relationship issues, in fact, everything. So,
wow.
And I absolutely love what I do. But I think
you're good at it.
I am good at it.
You are. I know you are.
Thank you. So I started really knowing that I was sort of more than I was, that I felt I was, when I was really young, actually. It was like I knew that inside of me was a person dying to come out, and I didn't know how to get her out. So that's how I started sort of seeking that. And I think a lot of people do that, don't they?
They do. That's interesting. I've never heard it said that way. I think that something, and before you go on the rest of your story, something a therapist told me a long time ago. She says, it's like you've been living in a 1-bedroom apartment and you didn't realize you lived in a mansion.
Oh, lovely. I love that.
And she told me that 20 years ago, and it stuck with me.
Yeah, that's great.
So take us back a little. How did you, what was the process of kind of coming, authenticity, of course, it's called the Authentic Deb podcast. Authenticity is so huge. I think it's an ever evolving thing of what authenticity means, and even what it means in this moment. But if you take us back a little 20 years ago, or just how did you kind of jump, where were you to even jump into all of this? And we'll just kind of give us a little bit of a background.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go back to a bit of a troubled childhood, actually.
Okay.
Which really left me with absolutely zero confidence. I didn't really have a voice. I didn't know how to stick up for myself or ask for what I wanted. And the shyness was crippling, really. So, and I ran away to Israel when I was 18, and I met my husband at the time.
You ran away to Israel?
Yeah.
I'm going to learn all things about you today. Okay. It just seems like I run away to like the Caicos Islands or something, but you ran away to Israel. So I'm...
I was at work, and a young girl there said she'd just come back from a kibbutz, and she said she was saving to go again. And on the spur of the moment, because things were so bad at home, I decided that's what I was going to do. So I went to Israel with £100 in my pocket, and I ended up going for about 8 months, and I loved it. But anyway, I met my Danish boyfriend, then he became my husband. We got married when I was 20, and I lived in Denmark for about 7 years. I had my son there, and the relationship broke down, but always inside of me was this knowing that I just needed to sort myself out. And I remember being on a boat coming back to England and being in the cabin and saying to myself, you are going to have to change. You're going to have to do something about this. And I ended up sort of going to different little classes and groups. And I was searching outside of myself, Debbie.
Yeah.
I was looking for things that resonated, and some things did and some things didn't. But my spiritual self grew and grew and grew. I didn't grow up in a religious household, but I have a great deep faith, and
Yeah.
but it's a bit mixed up with sort of spirituality as well.
Yeah.
So over time, I started finding my voice and being a bit more confident, and this sort of journey went on. But I knew that I wanted to work with people. So I didn't know in what context. I didn't know whether it was massage, the body, the mind. And a friend of mine, I was made redundant, and a friend of mine said to me, why don't you go on this course? She pointed me in the direction of it. I rang them up, I booked it, didn't know what it was about. And on my first day, I sat down in 5 minutes of listening to this conversation. The teacher, it blew my mind. It was like everything inside of me was going, oh my God, this is like coming home. This is amazing.
Wow.
So that's how I became a therapist.
Yeah. So welcome, Cindy. We've got in there. If you have questions, put them in the chat. Yeah. So, and was the course the hypnotherapist course?
And psychotherapy.
So psychotherapy. What is hypnotherapist just straight up hypnosis? Kind of tell us a little bit about. Well, first I want to honor that when you know, right? When you've gone to a course or you hit something like, and I know Cindy just joined us in chat, and so for those of us that are in tune with our intuition, when you know you've hit the right thing,
yeah,
and it makes your spirit just boom, just jump, you know you've hit the right thing. So could you, for me, and our listeners, just kind of unpack a little bit, because I don't want to be like, oh, hypnotherapy is just one thing. Kind of unpack the hypnotherapist, because you and I haven't talked about that a lot yet. So let's debunk it and tell it what it is and how it operates in your practice right now. Like if I was going to come to you for hypnotherapy.
Well, you don't now.
Okay. Well,
and I'll tell you why. You know, hypnotherapy is great. And what it helps people do is access their unconscious. You can experience confidence, you can experience lots of different things through hypnosis. So it's great. But what I realized once I trained as a psychotherapist and hypnotherapist, and I was a solution-focused therapist, really, what I realized really soon, I was really helping people. But as I was evolving, so did my therapy. And my therapy kept moving in the direction of if I could help somebody connect with the real them and not this messed up person that they were coming to me saying they were, then all their problems disappeared. And that, to me, was enormous. I mean, it was game-changing, because I saw the old way of working as being a bit of a sticky plaster. And I see the way that I work now as profoundly helping somebody shift so they don't go back to how they were. So they have an insight. And when you have that aha moment, you know, you go, oh, I didn't know that. You can't go back to not knowing again. You can't go back.
Once you have that, I mean, I know even in the inner wisdom session that you and I did, you know, no, would you call that psychotherapy, what you were doing with me, or just woo-woo therapy, or what is just Deb and Marion having a chat, or is like
I would say, psychotherapy, I would say.
Okay, psychotherapy. So if somebody wants to know what psychotherapy, who's watching this, how would you to make it non-scary, how would you identify it? Like if somebody came to you for a psychotherapy session, what's the difference between psychotherapy and just like, I'm going to go see a therapist?
Well, I think there are many forms of psychotherapy, by the way. And I think that a psychotherapist who's worked for many years, we all work quite differently. And it really becomes our way of doing it because we do it from our heart. If you're a good therapist, you work from your heart and you do what you know to be true and that will make a difference to somebody. So putting aside what other people might do, but if somebody came to me, the number one thing is, I do not need to talk about your past. I'm really happy to hear your story, and we might talk about that a bit. But actually, it's not that I'm not interested, but it isn't necessary for you to change and move forward. And that may sound strange to people, because people think they have to let go. You know, how do I let go? How do I let go?
If I don't know, I've struggled with that. And I tell you, I'm to the point where I don't want to see a therapist, because I am so tired of talking about
so
my past.
If this was my past, and this is where I am now and my future, if you put your attention on your past, you live in it, you create more of it, you talk about it, you experience it.
And you feel it in your body, all those stored memories.
Yeah. And if we acknowledge it, but we put our attention on who you really are, you know, where is your wisdom inside? How do you know if you're making the right choices? How do you know the difference between scary thinking and the truth? That true voice inside of you. The more you put somebody's attention on that, the more authentic they become. The more that I see them, they automatically start changing before my eyes. And that may be in one session or 5 sessions, but they always change. And it's this thing about, it's like if you had a river, and the river is of thoughts and problems, and you standing at the river, and somebody comes down the stream and you want to jump in and get them out of the stream because they're in it. I'd rather go to the beginning where they haven't even jumped in yet. They don't need to jump into all of that to change. Does that make sense?
I just like the analogy. I mean, I've used a stream analogy in a lot of ways, but I like that analogy. So when you got into this, I'm going to make an assumption that the first work that was done, everything you were really learning, because I think this is how it goes first, is that you were applying all of that to yourself, and you know, really healing yourself through. I mean, did you find a lot of, as you were learning to be a healer and a psychotherapist and all of that, you found that course that resonated with you? It sounds like it was just what you needed in that moment. So was there a point where you felt like you went from healing yourself to being ready to heal others, or was it all?
No, I think I'm still healing myself.
Sure. Well, me too. Yeah.
I think the journey that I took even before I trained, but the training, 3 years of, it was very interactive. So 3 years of working very closely with people and looking at your own stuff is a great thing, by the way. I actually think it's as you work with people and you refine, you get better and better at what you do. I think that's where your experience comes. But strangely, actually, I was only a year into my training, and we were allowed to do sort of helping people give up smoking. And then you had a review with my supervisor, who was my teacher. But I kept getting people contacting me who were drug addicts and alcoholics and being raped, and you know, they were just coming out of the woodwork. And I remember talking to him, and he said, you're okay to do that, but you need to come to me and be supervised. And I said, that's okay. But I instinctively knew what to do. And I think that some therapists have that within them. When I said that I sat in that classroom and heard that 5 minutes and it blew my mind. Well, it blew my mind because everything went off, because I knew it was for me. I knew it's who I was a therapist, and I just instinctively knew what to do.
Wow. So when did you actually start your practice?
20 years ago.
20 years ago.
I know. And I'm still, evolving and changing. And you know that I'm sort of changing the work that I'm doing, because now I feel, and I have done for a long time, that I've got a lot of experience and wisdom that I want to share. And I want to help people, apart from helping people who have their own issues that they think they have. I also want to work with people on personal development, because I know that when I do that, that people are able to move really fast in their personal development. I mean, you know, some people, like in America, you know, you go to your shrink and you can be going there for years. I don't need that with people.
Neither.
Yeah, I like, I want somebody to understand how this works inside of them, and then send them off and let them experience it, because it is by experiencing it that you learn.
Right. And so since we call this journey into authenticity, what do you think that looks like, or even in the evolving landscape of the last 5 years? What is Marion's journey into authenticity? So what is your journey into authenticity? Was there any particular spots along the way where you see, like, I learned this and that helped me to learn this, or what did that look like for you? Can you, I mean, that's a big question. That's a big open-ended question, but
yeah, I think about every 10 years I've had a major incident. So relationships, that's been my most recent learning, is how, even though I know I have all this experience, and I'm a great relationship counselor, but I wasn't good at having relationships. And the reason that I wasn't,
how is that so?
And the reason being is, and I knew it, I just didn't know how to really solidify it inside of me.
Yeah.
So
I'm getting comfortable here.
Yeah. So for example, relationships. So I had to learn how to have boundaries, how to say no, how you show me a sign of not being committed, then bye-bye, and I'll walk out the door. I needed to get to that point where I could be that sort of person, because when you're a therapist, and many people will understand this, that we're caregivers. And I'm so understanding as well. So I can almost forgive anything, almost, not everything, but I'm so forgiving, so understanding, so nurturing, that I needed to toughen up and not be afraid of abandonment. So that's an amazing learning. And I've had many like that along the way, actually. About 5 years ago, I went through a huge thing about love. You know, what is love really? And I studied it, I read about it, I listened about it, I experienced it. And that's how I change, actually. I usually sort of get something that I understand that I need to look at, and then I start going out and not practicing, but I start experiencing it. And I had a profound understanding about what I think it is and who I want to be.
So you just made two major points. The first one was the boundaries, and which is so important. So since we're talking about journey, I'm kind of stuck on this little roadmap here, although everybody's roadmap is different. But what I saw was the first thing, which I totally agree with, is boundaries. And one of the best ways to be authentic is to be honest with your boundaries.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things is to say no. It's not really authentic if you say one thing and mean another. I think the psychotherapy that you do comes into, why am I saying that? You know, maybe, or let's view it a different way of releasing people. I like that you say psychotherapy, because, like, I'm so over therapy, but I see this, I think there's another step, there's many steps, but boundaries is number one, journey into authenticity. What's the very first thing? Well, you've got to get to that point where you can be authentic to say what you're really feeling. And a lot of times that means, no, I'm not up for that tonight. And a little like point A, but if I could go A and then a little dash B, is then not explaining why you're having to say no. Yeah. I used to always feel like I had to, like, if you said, hey, Deb, let's go to the movies tonight. And, and I really didn't want to go. Maybe I was just tired. Oh, no. And, because, then you feel like and I've learned to go, yeah, that's not going to work for me tonight. But I've got, and that sounds like such a simple explanation, but being able just to say,
Yeah.
not meanly, like,
It's finding your
or
voice.
sometimes like, hey, it's just not up for it tonight, Marion, but can we do it this week or whatever? Or, I mean, it's without having to say that. And then the love part, what is love? And love for ourselves. So what is love? What did Marion find out in the last 5 years? Because we're not really love in many forms, whether it's eros love, friendship love, love for humanity, love for nature, love for yourself. What did Marion find out about what is love in these last 5 years on your journey?
Oh, wow. And I can only talk about it in my own experience.
Because this is Journey to Marion's Authenticity. We could retitle the podcast.
And I really want to pick up, though, what you said about what authenticity is. So come back on that, because I really want to explain how I know that. So going back to love, I heard the saying, that everything is love or fear in the world. We are love. And we can say that we understand what that means, but actually none of us really knows what that means. So it's a concept that we know. And many of us are not experiencing that and don't really understand it when we say it. So I want to try and understand, what did it mean to me? So part of that was, what does it mean to have relationships with friends and family through the lens of love? What does it mean to love myself? And by the way, that's the one I'm now really concentrating on, because I want to do that more deeply. So, but what does that mean? And I started, there were certain things going on in my life. And one of them was a difficulty with somebody in my family. And I was very hurt by it. And I hadn't been able to let it go for 3 years. It was a really difficult situation. I loved the person, but I just couldn't get past what happened. And so I decided to deal with it with love. I thought, okay, this is the biggie. So let's do and just experience it. So I remember going to a family party and outside going, you are going to be love. You're going to unzip. You're going to open it.
I like that.
You're going to shine it out, and you will just be that. But you have to mean it. There's no pretending. You just are it. So I went in and I was that. And it transformed something, because that person came to me and asked if they could come and see me. I had an issue with a guy that I was seeing at the time, and it was quite serious. And so I decided to deal with it with love, but with boundaries. And I sat down and I unzipped and I opened up and I explained it in the most loving way that I could. And I felt pure love. And number one, his reaction was amazing, because he completely got what I was saying. But he said, I've never had a conversation like this ever in my life. And I knew that when we enter the world and we try and, we deal with it in that way, things transform. They really do. And I want to experience more of that. Now, the only thing that takes us away from love is our mind, our thinking. Our thinking takes us off the road, our happy road, because we have thoughts, and it takes us down a different, side road. And we have to find our way back. But my intention is I want to be more of that. That is who I am. That's what I want to be. So I've had lots of thoughts about that. And now it goes back to, as I said, the focus now is very much, what does loving myself mean? Okay, I understand it means accepting all of me. But I believe it means more than that. But at the moment, I haven't really seen what that is. But I will do. I know I will do.
So that is really neat. I like how you say, like, you unzipped and let love out. So not for the gentleman, but for the other person. When you say you unzipped yourself and just was love, what did that look like? Is there anything tangible how that looked with that particular person?
It means I am smiling with love, shining love, speaking lovingly, there are no blocks. There's nothing there.
So no expectations? Did you let go of expectations of them?
Yeah, I'm just being me. Authentically, beautifully me in the moment. And it is about I'm very much a person that when I want to experience something, I can be it. I follow my intention so much. If it's my intention to be that, then that's what I will be, and I leave everything else behind. So when you're loving, there's no blocks or bricks or doors or anything.
Well, I was going to say like resentments, because a lot of times
none of it.
If somebody's on your last nerve, or there's really something going on, or personality clash, especially if it's a family member or something like that, then there's a difference. Like I love the analogy how you said I unzipped.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we walk into the workplace or wherever and we zip up this shell and we hide our authenticity.
Yeah.
And we become the chameleon. I can be a chameleon really easy. A chameleon, and that's not always a bad thing. It means that I can kind of talk to anybody. I'm still me, but there is that element of, am I going to unzip and let the love out? And I kind of see it as like love for who Marion is, love for who Debbie is. I love who Debbie is. And when I'm really in that, it's not like you don't care what other people think, but you're being so real with your first, because I think authenticity has to come with a self-awareness of yourself first before you can be authentic to anybody else. That maybe whatever resentments or expectations you have, that's somewhere I've grown, is like you say, okay, I'm going to forgive this person or this or that, but you still have this little hidden agenda for them or an expectation of how they're supposed to respond to you. And so then that just continues to build up resentment. If we can really unzip, like you said, and then just let that out, then it changes the atmosphere. It changes the spiritual atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then you're able to be free, and people feel that. People are drawn to that. And you asked me earlier, what does authenticity mean for Marion?
Yeah, well, I wish children in school knew this, because I didn't know it.
Neither.
Authenticity to me means something really simple, that I am living from the inside of me out. Mm-hmm. I am gauging what my values are, and I want to live by those. And one of those is love for me. Mm-hmm. Authenticity is about being powerful. So when you're not being authentic, you can be powerful from the outside in, meaning I will go and try and control everything around me.
Manipulate the situation,
yeah. Because I am insecure or whatever it is, or fearful or whatever. When I'm being truly authentic, I know that I am incredibly powerful, because all the choices that I make are the ones that I want to make, and they're the right decisions. And if somebody's telling me that that isn't right, but I know it is, I stick to my guns. Mm-hmm. It's where your power is. It is not because a father left you, a mother spoke to you badly, relationships broke down, and they left. It has nothing to do with that, or how much money you have, or what job you have. It has nothing to do with that. It's just about that amazing power that you have inside of you, and you being the best version of yourself that you can be.
Oh, so that is so good. So if we had to break it down into 3 steps for people that are going to watch this later, and then I'm going to ask you your questions, and then if Cindy, if you have any questions or comments, how would you break down for somebody just starting, regardless of age, if you were going to make a little mini PDF for somebody right now, which I could see you doing, making a little mini if you don't already have it on your website, and we'll get your website up there. How would you break down the 3 steps to starting your authentic journey?
Well,
not that I put you on the spot or anything.
No. I know what it is. The personal growth that I do is broken down into 3 things, actually. So number one.
Okay, so I'm going to.
Okay, so if you have a bridge, And on one side of the bridge is who you were taught to be, and on the other side of the bridge is you being authentic. So if you imagine that. So I find helping people understand how they have become people pleasers and perfectionists and control freaks, and what that then does to them, meaning that they then have anxiety and depression and bad relationships and all of those sorts of things. When they understand that, that's the very first step. You don't have to, I don't need you to live in that world, but understanding what got you there is great. And my clients that come to me always say, oh my God, I've had therapy for so long, but nobody told me why I have anxiety. So that's number one.
So understand, step one is, because I was typing that in there, understand what's causing the problem, or what?
Yeah,
how would I say that?
Understand how you work as somebody who is not working at their 100%, basically. So, you know, you're not being authentic.
How you internally operate?
Yeah, how you internally operate when you operate from a place of beliefs that don't serve you very well, behavior patterns that don't serve you. So the second step is, and I call this the bridge, and on the bridge there are a number of things that really you need to understand. And you need to understand what love is. You need to understand about not taking things personally. You need to understand, why is awareness so important to you? You know, because it will change your life when you become aware. And there are certain things that I show people on the bridge that really start shifting them. And once you've shifted and you're over the other side, which is you behaving more authentically, and you understand what that really means, your last step is living that, learning more about that and understanding it more deeply. Because your authentic self almost deepens and deepens, your understanding of yourself deepens and deepens. So those are the three steps that I would say.
Say that last part, because you cut out. Your authentic self what?
Sorry?
The last part, you're saying your authentic self, and then the internet went all funky.
Oh, okay. So the last step is that you're now living and understand what it means to be authentic, but you're going to live this every single day. So therefore, if you're going to live it every single day, you want to really deepen your understanding of that. It's like you discover more and more and more about yourself in that rich place.
Okay. So I was just going to type that in there for later, so it's in some comments. So yeah, so I like that you're on the bridge, and I've always said that knowing what the problem is more than half the journey to starting to fix it. And I think the thing with at least American therapy is that my experience has been staying in the problem rather than acknowledging the problem, saying, okay, here's the problem, or here's the whatever. Okay, we acknowledge that happened. Or whatever, but now let's go into, you know, like you said, the behavior patterns. I've often said I have things that served me well, maybe as a child, that don't serve me as a 57-year-old adult, or a 30-year-old adult, or ways of relating, or ways of speaking, or ways of interpreting what people say.
Yeah. And
it's this process of, but it all comes back into, I'm going to stick with that thing about unzipping, unlocking the authenticity within us. I'm going to move into the Cindy. Did you have any questions before I move into my standard 3 blow Marion away with 3 crazy questions? If you're there and you're watching and you have a question or a comment, something you want to comment about the topic, I'll be watching for it. But Marion, I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Ooh.
And they can be serious or funny. But again, Cindy, did you have a question? Go ahead and ask it if you do. Or if you have a comment, and as soon as I see it, I will respond because I'm looking at it. So Marion, while I'm waiting for Cindy there, my first question is, you are, here's a scenario. It's a two-part question, so think carefully. You are stranded on an island. No, Tom Hanks is not there. You are all by yourself on an island, and you have been gifted. God has said, oh, poor Marion, she's on this island, so I'm going to give her the Dr. Dolittle anointing. And now that you can speak to all the animals, the fishes, the birds, the ants, the snakes, everything. So they have deemed you their queen, and they have built for you a little throne with all the things on the island. And the entire island, every living thing is there, and they are waiting for you to make your first decree. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is, what is your decree? And the second part of the question is, in which animal species are you going to have carry out your decree? Like, who's going to be your right hand, on your right hand to help you govern this?
Well,
there you go.
So number one, immediately it came in my mind that I would decree that they all have to love each other.
Okay.
And the second one is, who would I have as my right-hand man?
Yeah, they're going to enforce that decree. They're going to make it happen.
Oh,
they're going to help you. Yeah.
I think it would have to be. Well, I would have said a dog because they're loyal.
Okay.
And but gosh, there are so many animals. And so it's also beautiful. I don't think you could choose.
Well, I said one person said
I wouldn't want to. No, because I can do that job myself.
Well, you know what's so hysterical? One person said, "Get me off this island," and then they said they would pick the dolphin because they could just get on the dolphin and ride away. So we had all sorts of different things. So let's see.
So clearly, I quite like the idea of being on an island with animals.
Well, and I like. Yeah, we're going to read your comment. I think 2 dogs show unconditional love, so I think that would be a good. Mm-hmm. Is there a limit, Cindy says, of when you shut up and walk away while being authentic? She's talking about people like family members.
Family members or partners. So let me just get this right. So are we saying, so when you're having a conversation and it's not going very well, can you just walk away? Is that what the question is?
Is that what you're saying, Cindy? I think you can click on comments in the upper right, Marion, and you'll see her comment. She just said, is there a limit of when you shut up and walk away? She said both, laugh out loud. But in the upper right, I think you should see comments. Do you see that?
Is there a limit of when you shut up and walk away while being authentic? Oh, I mean, okay, this is what I think. People misunderstand and think by being quiet means that you're allowing something to happen. When we are being authentic, we make great choices. And if at that moment in time, my wisdom said, I really need to be quiet about this and walk away, then that's what I'm going to do. And I only know that until I'm in that moment. So it could be that I'm talking to somebody and I've heard all of this before. And quite honestly, I don't want to get into that again. It serves absolutely no purpose at all.
Right.
Now, in a relationship, if that's a partner, the best thing sometimes is to leave things and walk away and come back another time. And, my body tells me that if it's agitated in any way at all, it means that I'm not handling the situation very well and I need to leave it and think about it and come back. If I'm having a conversation where I feel very calm, and that could mean that also I'm being very stern and controlled anger, that's okay too.
Right.
Yeah, but I feel really calm. And when I'm being calm, I know I'm handling it really well. So, Cindy, you only know whether you need to walk away when your wisdom tells you that you need to walk away or you need to stay. And sometimes we have to stay and have difficult conversations as well.
Let me add to that too. I think that, and then Cindy, you can comment if we need to expand. There have been many times like that for me. And when we say get up and walk away, Marion, and I know, is not saying, flip everybody the bird, swear, and get up and storm out of the room. There are some personalities that will do that because they haven't learned the inner restraint. But I've always heard the phrase, choose your battles.
Yeah.
Choose your battles and choose there's certain things like my body will tell me too. I've said the same thing you have, Marion, like, oh my God, I've heard this 100 times before. And so I think there's times in those things where, and again, with being authentic, I would say I believe to be authentic, this is for me though, I must commit to being transparent. Transparent does not mean letting everybody roll all over me. But it does mean that I can say, sometimes you can get up and leave the room or go get a cup of coffee. They don't even notice you've left because they're in the, it depends upon if you're having a one-on-one. But there's sometimes you can say, yeah, it just doesn't, I have to think about that. Or just, being honest about something, say, well, it looks like we might not agree. I had a great conversation yesterday with somebody, and we were asking something, and they said, well, we can talk about it, but I might not agree with what you have to say. And I said, that would be great. I said, because I want an honest conversation where we can honestly not agree on something, but we can hear each other. Yeah. So transparency is huge, and transparency makes us vulnerable, which is a whole nother onion peel to wrap. But I think that we can walk away so long as we do that in love. Just say, hey, whatever. It's really about how we do it, how we're projecting that. Does that make sense, Marion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a good question, Cindy.
Good question.
Okay.
Thanks, Cindy.
Next question for Marion. Let's see. So Marion is going to tell everybody to love everybody. And thanks, Cindy. And pick the dogs, because dogs are good showers of love. My next question is, would you ski naked from the top of a mountain for £1 million tax-free?
Yes.
Okay.
Why would I not do that?
I don't know, because I'm still a little body conscious, but I figure if it's tax-free, that might put me over the loop.
And people say, money isn't everything, but think of what I can do.
It's a big deal.
Myself,
what you can do with that money.
My friends. Yeah, there's loads that I would want to do with that. So hell, people, they don't have to watch.
They might pay more not to watch. I mean, for me. It'd be like, put it on. Oh, Cindy, you wouldn't do it? I for $1 million tax-free. So see, for $1 million taxed at 42% in America, I'm not sure $520,000 freezing my tatas all the way down a ski slope would be worth it, because naked you'd be freezing. But for $1 million tax-free, I might be able to be bought. I don't know. Or I could make a side gig and tell them to pay me not to do it. I might make more money.
It's a really interesting question, that, because I remember in my training, actually, my teacher said, there was quite a few of us, and he said, if you were offered £1 million to do, and part of that was being in a porn movie, just one movie, would you do it?
Nope.
And it was incredibly interesting listening to the answers of people.
Mine's no, 100%.
And well, I think the answer is very much about how connected we are to our authenticity, actually. And the reason I say that is the thing, like, isn't it? And going down the mountain, and I went immediately, yes. Look, I'm very body conscious, but that is not going to stop me doing that. And I think the more authentic I've become, the more accepting of myself, I'm quite happy doing that.
I could just keep falling and have all the snow attached to me. So I look like a 300-pound snow globe by the time I got to the bottom.
Well, you ski down the
But
mountain.
I'm not going to share an intimate part of myself, an expression. I'm not gonna. Yeah, porn. You could pay me $100 million. I would say no. I mean, it's just such a it's such an easy answer for me. But I go snow globing it down the hill for tax-free money. I probably would, because I could do so much with it, like you said. Okay.
What's the second question?
Cindy, do you have a question you want to ask? Do you want to do the third question since you're our inaugural guest who is commenting? We have one more question for Marion before she asks me. But we can give Cindy a bonus question if she wants one. But I'll ask you one, Marion. Let's see. If you could go anywhere and live, and money was absolutely no object, where would you be?
Oh. I think it would be in the Far East somewhere.
The forest, the fairies, the forest.
The Far East.
Oh, Far East.
Yeah,
I thought you said the forest or the fairies. I couldn't make out your accent.
Yeah, I think it could be something like Cambodia, Vietnam,
oh, wow.
Anywhere where I can live a life where my spirituality is the most important thing. So Buddhism is what I'm much more involved in now. And I would like to experience that more and live somewhere like that. But I also love that type of food and that environment.
Okay, I just like American food. I'm really boring. Okay.
Well, I was born in Borneo, so that was the Far East.
You were born where?
In Borneo.
Where's that?
Near the Philippines.
Where are you? Okay, you were born near the Philippines, and then you moved to the UK?
I moved to the UK with my mum, but my dad then lived in South Africa, Swaziland actually, and then the South Pacific and lots of different places. So we used to go out to those places.
Okay, Cindy's going to move to somewhere where I think with the Buddhist thing, we'll have to have more conversation about that later. That's a whole different podcast. Like, I know a lot of Christians who are Buddhists as well, and so it's or come from that vein or whatever. So that'd be interesting. I don't know much about it. Okay, so now you get to ask me a question. What do you want to ask Deb? I'm glad we're making you laugh, Cindy.
Yeah, you dropped that on me. What was I going to ask you? So, if you could ride your motorbike anywhere in the world, what sort of trip would you like to take?
Well, first, because I'm getting Susan's much more the motorcycle enthusiast than I would make sure I have a really nice, probably touring trike. I think I'd like to try a trike rather than just the two wheels, but it'd have to be decked out. And look hot as heck, And where would we go? Is that what you're asking me, where I would want to go?
What kind of trip would you go on?
I think it would be fun to have all my my laptop and a microphone and a light ring, put all my little podcasting stuff in there in one of the things. And I would like to go, I think, as far as in the US, it would be fun to go around the country and just interview people on the spot, like a drive up, see if you could get little 5-minute snippet of wisdom things. That would be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be great. I love that idea.
Yeah, just the Authentic Deb podcast on the road, just like 10-minute snippets of what do you want to tell the world?
What do you want to tell the world? Love it.
Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah. You said, she's very, Cindy says she's curious about Buddhism and Hinduism. Well, you guys can talk because I know nothing about it. Ask me about Jesus. I can talk about that. Besides that, I don't know the rest. But Marion, I have totally enjoyed this podcast.
Thank you.
You said, yeah, you should do it. Yeah, well, somebody buy me a trike and we'll see, But yeah, that would be fun. But thank you so much for this. Really some good points. You gave me some food for thought of even things I want to start putting up on my own website with little, we've got so many teachings in us. Not just you, me, Cindy. I just want to, it's like you guys, we have so many teachings in us. I just want to encourage everybody, start writing that stuff down. You know how easy it is to make a PDF and add a color background to it or something. In fact, I was going to write today anyways, working on my upcoming book. But so Marion, tell us a little bit about, we've got your one website there. How can people contact you? I will definitely add this to the show notes as well. How do they book a session with you? I can tell you for you guys, I've booked a session with Marion, and I turned around and told my wife, Susan, that she was better than any therapist I had ever done in the States. And I only wish that she was in the States and on my Cigna insurance, because I would definitely go to her over. But I think it's the thing about the psychotherapy and the thing about what you were saying, Marion, about the bridge and how you get on it and view it and assimilate it and cross it and move over to the other side. Did I just wrap it up really succinctly there? And so much therapy here is centered on let's stay in the shit. And I really don't want to stay in what happened to me when I was 5, 10, or 15. And I'm just throwing those numbers. I don't want to stay in that. I want to say, okay, dumb. And now how do I move on? So I can tell you guys that Marion is worth every penny. Even just for one session. It really impacted me. For me to get into the car and make a statement with Susan, like that was the most impactful thing I've had. I wish I had that here. Is not just because she's my friend, but because it's true. So wrap it up and tell us how we can contact you and all that fun stuff, Marion.
So you can contact me in a few different places. So marionjorgensen.co.uk is my website. It's having a little bit of work done to it at the moment, but it will be totally finished in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Also, I have a Facebook group called the Inner Wisdom Community. This group is for people who are interested in personal development. And we have events, quite a few evenings a week on different subjects by different people. I'm actually going to be starting my own mini courses in there, taster courses. So people can come and join that. That'd be great. And my email address is marion@marionjorgensen.com.
Okay, great. Well, we will put all of that in the show notes. I thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, it was wonderful. And with that, I will say thank you, and we will see you again. If you guys want to subscribe to the Authentic Deb podcast, please do. You can subscribe here. You can also subscribe on my page, authenticdeb.com. If you want to be a guest, you can do that as well. We're always looking for guests. And if you enjoy the work, please go ahead to my Patreon page, which is at the top here, and support the work. Help me continue to put the podcast out. Thanks, and have a great day. And remember to be you, because being you is enough.